Hello everyone, it's me again, your skate doc, and today I have an exciting guest who should best introduce himself.
Hello, I am Jürgen Horwarth and I am the national coach for skateboarding for the German national team for the Olympics.
I've been watching you ever since I started skating, and you entered the professional scene through magazines, videos, and at contests. How exactly do you manage that? What sports do you do? What exactly is your diet like? What injuries have you had, and how did you fight your way back from them?
It was important to me that I felt comfortable, and feeling comfortable comes from having a healthy body and a healthy mind. Basically, it all starts with how you eat, essentially meaning what you put into your body. Also, that's the most important thing. Inspired by martial arts and combat sports, which I have tried out, and various stories in rehabilitation sports, yoga, Pilates, and whatever. Everything related to strengthening, stretching, and so on. The motivation and inspiration just came together for the things I then practiced myself to keep me fit.
In what way have injuries, since you just mentioned the word rehabilitation, shaped you? Which injury was perhaps significant for you, where you also found a different connection to your body?
I would probably highlight 3 injuries. The first is a torn cruciate ligament, foot surgery, metatarsal, and hand. Then there are other injuries like shoulder injuries and so on, all the typical areas that are stressed and often injured while skating. Everything I took away from those phases of injury recovery and then rehabilitation, and everything that followed for my well-being on the board and off the board, I wanted to maintain. That means I remembered the most important things. I always remembered the most functional exercises, and I simply integrated them into my daily routine. That means when I was still active as a professional, I simply completed a program every morning where all the exercises actually came more or less from physiotherapy and initially from rehabilitation, and then I added elements from martial arts and combat sports. Later on, the whole thing expanded a bit more with the additional knowledge I gained from my competitive sports activity and my certification as a coach. And now we have arrived at where I am today.
During this specific time of professional driving, was that when the injury with the cruciate ligament happened?
The cruciate ligament injury was around the age of 30. At first I thought, oh, this could be really dramatic, but I was back on the board relatively quickly. I was back on the board 3 months later and was riding very, very small transitions, so I was doing other movements that also strengthen. And after that, my knee was actually almost stronger than before.
How was it with the foot injury? You mentioned that the metatarsal bone in your foot was broken. Did it require surgery?
Yes, I unfortunately tore out my tendon bones back then, and it was quite painful.
A Jones fracture like that? On the metatarsal, 5 on the outside?
Yes, and then it was, reconnected with a fastener, which was actually a relatively minor procedure. And overall, it wasn't that terribly bad, actually. Over time, the entire foot structure changed and naturally affected the knee, hip, and so on. And 15 years later, it ended up significantly affecting my back. And now I've been struggling with back pain for the last 3 years until I figured out the cause. The origin is from the foot, which was not the same foot after the surgery as it was before the surgery. And now I've tried to resolve the whole thing over the last 3 years with a lot of training. Yes, it's paying off. I can skate reasonably well again, definitely.
Do you still do your workout every day, or do you now perhaps do it 5 times a week? Or do you have a day where you relax? Or does it depend on if you still go skating? Or what is your routine as a national coach?
Normally, I would say I work out an average of 5 times a week. I would say it's usually about 1 hour, so it depends on what program I'm doing. Actually, it's often typically the same. It just depends on how many rounds I do or what I add to it. I want to add more shoulder work or something like that, but essentially I do everything at home. And I only wear barefoot shoes now, except when skating. They take care of the rest in everyday life.
I'm always very interested in top athletes, and especially in multi-talented ones like you. Indeed, what does your diet look like? What's your key?
I would characterize it like this. My diet actually starts with the ingredients, essentially. The origin is very important to me, so I want organically produced food. I want things that grow regionally and seasonally as much as possible, because those are the things that Mother Nature simply gives us. I eat a relatively high amount of fruits and vegetables, and otherwise, well, I'm not vegetarian or vegan. I also eat meat, I also eat fish, but I keep it rather moderate indeed. I would say that I now prefer to eat chicken or fish rather than always eating red meat or heavy foods. I keep it more balanced. A lot of fresh fruits and vegetables prepared by yourself, eaten 3 times a day. Then you always have to pay attention to the timing of your meals throughout the day. It's very important as an athlete not to eat immediately before a training session and to ensure that you have about 45 to 60 minutes after the training session to start the recovery process. This means consuming proteins and a small amount of carbohydrates right after training, and then you can have a proper meal and some mobility exercises. I do little static stretching, more like dynamic stuff before going to sleep so that everything is nicely loosened up, and that is usually enough.
I think that was indeed also a topic in Tokyo at the Olympics, where you trained every day. Could you talk more about what your daily rhythm was like, your routine, if there even is one at such an event, under pandemic conditions?
So it was not very pleasant indeed for the athletes and female athletes to really perform outside and outdoors. And we just tried to stay fit in the gym. So we had a gym, and I was in there with Tyler almost every day, but we mostly did strength training and stuff like that. Strength and endurance training for skating weren't really that extensive. It was more about the effort required to travel by bus there and back, sitting around until it was finally your turn, and then practicing for just 1 hour in the heat.
How would you have performed under these conditions in your prime?
I can't really articulate exactly because these are extremely different conditions. The framework of the Olympics is just something entirely different because you are indeed simply at the biggest event that exists on the planet. A small part that contributes to making the event what it is. And that certainly makes a difference when you're used to skate contests running the way they usually do for you. Definitely. The level is also very high there and everything is the same, but the whole framework makes everything different and everything is meticulously planned.
What is the key to mental strength besides perhaps a healthy body?
On this stage, it is absolutely even more crucial that you are mentally on point. We work with a sports psychologist who can then help the people on the team have certain small tricks or mechanisms ready and prepared, which they might be able to use in such a case. Let's say they become nervous or suddenly forget their run or throws them off their concept. And my job as a coach is, of course, always to try to get them to the point where they can perform, so to help them get into the flow stage, so to speak. What I always do is I always try to naturally throw in things from my own experience. You say I tried it this way back then and it helped me, or perhaps try a breathing exercise or even do something else, and there are so many different areas you can cover. It is very important to have mental clarity and mental strength so that you can stay extremely focused and determined. And it starts, of course, as you might have already undoubtedly guessed, with how you feel physically. What is your starting position? Injured, 100% fit, feel 110%. There are moments like that too. They are definitely more likely to ensure that you have the confidence and the need to show what you can do.
Okay. Dear Jürgen, thank you again for the interview. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot. I would like to ask if you could give our viewers 3 tips for a good skate day from the perspective of the national coach.
Yes, something comes to mind right away. I could highlight 3 very important points. First, remember to eat before and after skating. So, the timing of your meals is important, not so much what you eat, that comes with time. Take half an hour each and every single day to do various different exercises. A few squats, some simple ab exercises, and a bit of other stuff. So, take about half an hour for your workout routines and don't skate too much. Don't skate for 6 hours if you think you need to keep going. It's so much fun and you still need to land that trick. Always keep a bit of energy in your body for the next session. So it's better to skate for just 2 or 3 hours. That's enough. You'll progress more that way than by exhausting yourself completely and feeling really bad the next day. And always make sure to go to bed before midnight and get enough sleep.
All the very best, Jürgen. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Really nice. Bye.